you like action?
Sorry it took so long.
Do you like martial arts? Do you like Street Fighter so much that you wish they made a movie that captured that vibe?
You fight before? Yeah. You good? Yeah, I'm good. Good defense? Yeah. Strength different in America. Your defense stinks.
Do you yearn for a day when the good guys were good, the bad guys were bad? Revenge was a dish best served with an ass whooping. And a movie made you care, delivering catharsis? Do you love gratuitous nudity for no reason other than it's awesome? Well, wonder no more, because I have the movie for you.
What the?
In the days of movies that cost less than $1 million to make, but changed the country for a generation, and in a country that just won the Cold War and was ready to run a victory lap, a startup of nobodies decided to make the greatest film that everyone has heard of, but no one has actually watched. This movie is so great that it became the cliche for everyone that came after.
You go after him outside the ring and we're dead, all of us! He's too valuable to them! The only way is inside the ring. You ain't good enough.
Had a video on this channel of its greatest clone that was taken down because it was too raw, and they couldn't have him praise Billy Blanks without consequences. From the director who only brought you the Kickboxer series comes the classic story of revenge, honor, romance, and the knowledge that dipping your hands in hot wax and then glass shards was the only way to fight your brother from then on. The action is visceral. The emotions are heartbreaking. The catharsis is exhilarating. The muscles are oiled. It's Kickboxer, 1989.
I told you, I don't watch new movies anymore. I especially don't watch action movies anymore. And it's not because action has to be hyper realistic and perfectly choreographed, because it doesn't. And it's not because the plots aren't allowed to be masculine and unapologetic anymore, but they don't. And it's not because millennials are a new, more sophisticated audience that needs more complex, because we aren't, and they don't, and it doesn't, and whatever. It's just one day a bunch of visionaries made cheap, competent action films based around Hong Kong-inspired plot lines with American sensibilities, and they hit the jackpot with this one. And oh, dude, it kickstarted Jean-Claude Van Damme's career, and next to Stallone and Schwarzenegger, they made the Triforce of action movie genres. There was the war against the communists, there's the battle robots for survival, and then the martial arts in Southeast Asia for revenge. And it's awesome. And I'm here for it. So what's Kickboxer? Well, I mean, it's a story about revenge, ultimately. Revenge, training, humility, the kind of stuff you would hear when you took karate at 8 and the instructor was trying to tell you it's not about fighting. So it was directed by a guy, Mark DeSalle, written by David Worth. And DeSalle is often credited as the main creative force behind the film. So now it made $15 million off of a $1.5 million budget, which is a crazy rate of return. And on top of that, I don't have the numbers, but it made an insane amount on syndication, on movie rentals, on VHF. And that's kind of why these movies aren't coming back anymore. You see, you could have a very modestly budgeted film, and it could do okay, maybe making a little bit of profit when it comes out of the movie theater. But when you went to Blockbuster, or you rented DVDs, or you bought VHS tapes, you would essentially subsidize these small budget films, and so they could become far bigger than you would imagine. And now that we have streaming services turning everything into pennies on the dollar slop, there's just no incentive for people who know what they're doing. Add to that the whole woke Hollywood nonsense thing, where if you tried to make Kickboxer nowadays, you would end up with a lesbian of color doing the kickboxing against Tong Po, and it just doesn't work. And oh dude, you couldn't beat up a minority on the thing, even if it made sense for the story. And so you're so worried about offending people that you don't make good movies anymore. And that's why this stuff's never coming back, so just enjoy it. All right, pause. Now, I hate, and I mean I hate YouTube movie reviews. I don't even want to look this one up. I don't want to know what YouTube is doing here. I'm not even mad at YouTube right now. Like, I don't know. I know the communists don't care about this one. I know Critical Drinker and Jeremy from the Quartering and all the people that just love to talk about how much they hate Kathleen Kennedy don't care about this one. Like, I had a really good joke in the script about Kathleen Kennedy being out of a job meant that Critical Drinker would actually have to make proper content of movies that we'd actually enjoy. As I looked this up, he has like 3 videos cheerleading her demise, so it's nothing stopping. He's milking it for all it's worth. Like, does the guy even like movies? Can he make a movie? Let me know in the comments. And that's what really gets me about new stuff like this. Like JCVD, a movie came out in 20-something or other. It was a great autofiction story of his rise and his fall, had a nice little premise, a little bit of winking, whatever. But the millennials just took it and took the wrong lessons from it. And now they're putting him in movies where he winks to the audience. They add sarcasm and irony, and they have a bunch of little millennial kids talking to him like they know anything, and he winks at the audience. Like, I hate my fellow millennials. I hate it. I never watched Harry Potter, and I won't. And they just have to turn everything into a Reddit tier Funko Pop, you know? Like, and the big thing here is with the action. And new action that tries to make everything realistic and Hong Kong style is that they don't understand theatrics. Like, I talk about it in I Come in Peace. WWF wrestling versus Hong Kong action. It kills the storytelling, and it turns everything into a technical demonstration of choreography. They're advertisement for stunt choreographing movie professionals. They're not movies for us. But that's what I like about this one. When you watch the action is driving the character. When there's a catharsis moment at the end, oh, why doesn't he lift up his hands and defend himself? It's like, that's not what this is supposed to be right now. This is supposed to be the culmination of all of his training and his revenge wrapped up. You're supposed to watch him beat the crap out of Tong Po and feel good about yourself. You get it? Theatrics, not realism. And the fact that his drunken bar scene has become a meme instead of the humorous test of his skills even when he's drunk, it just makes me want to cry, man. It just makes me want to cry. So the themes, there's like 4 main themes, and they're pretty straightforward. There's revenge and redemption. You know, they killed my brother, I'm gonna go kill him. Cathartic at the end, they kidnapped my woman. Getting it back. It's universal, everybody loves it. The next is discipline versus arrogance, and that kind of plays out in a few ways. Like, one, Van Damme's brother in this one, he goes in thinking he's hot stuff, the best in America, so he's gonna be the best in Thailand. Gets put into a wheelchair. Van Damme has to realize, and like, the whole thing is about them realizing that they can learn something from a different culture. They put away all of their arrogant ideas about how great they are, and then that causes them to get the skills that they need to conquer in the end. The third one is corruption and honor in combat. So you'll notice that the bad guys in this one, they do all kinds of things to kind of skew things in their favor. They kidnap Van Damme's girl. They attack them at the compound. They always try to bribe people off, stuff like that. All kinds of like very unhonorable combat. And you want to show that winning it straight it's just like a Western. You got the white hat cowboy and the black hat cowboy. And the white guy doesn't want to kill him until the black cowboy tries to shoot him in the back, and then he has to take him out. It's that same kind of little morality play in there. And then there's a brief thing on Eastern versus Western values. That's leaning in heavily again on humility. So the characters. First one is Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Kurt Sloan. And his character arc is pretty simple. He was the brother of the American champion kickboxer that came down to Thailand to do some exhibition matches. Brother gets put in a wheelchair. So his want is revenge. Every character is going to have a want and a need. Want is the thing that they think they want, and the need is the thing that they find after getting their want and realizing it's not enough. Gives them what they actually need to develop their character arc. Successful character arcs involve pushing through the want, getting the need. Tragic character arcs involve him making a fatal flaw and then losing out on his need, usually causing the demise of the character. Next is Dennis Alexio as Eric Sloan, and he just comes to America, comes to Thailand, wants to be the best kickboxer in the world, and he just has to learn humility, and he has to learn the limits. Now that he's in a wheelchair, he can't fight anymore. You know, it's pretty standard stuff. The next is Dennis Chan, who plays Xian Chow. I'm never going to pronounce these right. and he's the Yoda of this one. So his wants are simple. He wants to pass on Muay Thai and the wisdom and the philosophy, and to help Kurt defeat Tong Po, save his daughter from criminal mastermind stealing all of her money and stuff like that. But what he needs is to actually impart the wisdom, not just the ability to fight, but like the philosophy, the humility, and all that stuff. And he originally stops wanting to train Van Damme. He doesn't think he's good enough, but he appreciates his tenacity, and that gets him through in the end. The main villain is Michael Hesi, Tong Po. He's just the main baddie. He's pure, strictly evil, willing to do whatever it takes. There's no real arc to that. It's just he's there to show you how bad he is, so that way when Van Damme kicks his ass, you feel good. Side characters, there's just two. There is Haskell V. Anderson III, who plays Winston Taylor, Vietnam vet, sidekick for Van Damme. He's kind of the audience insert that takes you through the story. He just wants to enjoy his retirement after his time in Vietnam. So, and then Rochelle Ashana is Mai Li. That's the daughter of Xian, and she's there as the love interest. Not really much of a character arc, but she exists there because after the revenge for his brother thing kind of wanes, as Van Damme builds humility, he needs another reason to keep going, and then kidnapping the girl, like, doesn't get much simpler than that. So there's some setups and payoffs in this movie. They're very simple, but I like them and they're effective. Early in the movie, Eric dismisses the idea that Thai fighters are superior, mocks their training, and assumes his American kickboxing skills will be enough. And then the payoff to that, which kind of gets things going, is they show that is absolutely not the case. Tong Po puts him in a wheelchair, they rip up his belt, and that is the lesson that Van Damme has to learn to go the other way. I can learn from these people, but I can be better with that American spirit, which is funny because I'm pretty sure he's from Brussels. But I mean, as far as you're concerned, it's American. And then another one in here, and here's just a simple example. Earlier in the movie, it was mentioned that the Muay Thai fighters in the old days, when they had super serious major battles, would dip their hands in like boiling oil and broken glass for high stakes fights, which then sets it up so later, if you want to have that extra additional impact from it, they're actually doing that in what was supposed to be just like an underground warehouse fight. So yeah, little things like this just to make things a little bit better for you. Oh, and then the plot. I love the plot. Eric Sloan, American kickboxing champion, travels to Thailand with his younger brother Kurt to fight the best in the world. They meet Tong Po, a ruthless Muay Thai fighter, ends up kicking down a cement pillar. Eric thinks nothing of it. He's like, oh, whatever, I'm going to win, I'm the best. Gets put into a wheelchair by the end of this fight. And they try to get some help, but everybody in the audience is just doing nothing. They're like, that's just how things work around here. So Kurt ends up having to carry his injured brother through the streets to get medical help. Finds out he's paralyzed. Devastated, he wants revenge. He talks to a friend of his that he's built in here, who was a gambler who ended up driving him to the hospital. Tells him about this guy Xian that is an old hermit that might be willing to train him, which he turns him down originally, and then after a while he has an idea to test him, to see if he's worth training, sends him to his daughter's little grocery store stand where she's getting held up by a bunch of thugs. Van Damme takes those guys out, and then he decides, okay, I'll train him. And then he puts him through a series of like a montage of training, you know, beating him up with dropping coconuts on him, making him kick through bamboo. If you've ever watched my King of the Kickboxers video, you're going to notice like beat for beat, that one pretty much ripped off Kickboxer. So, and during this, Kurt and Mai Li, they start developing a love interest, building onto it. So he's got a reason other than revenge, humility, love. You know, how many more reasons do you need to beat up a bad guy? Freddie Lee, the local crime boss, learns of all this training, and then he has an idea to make a bunch of money off of this to set up a match between. He's got a little bit of a rivalry between him and Xian, but they never really delve into it so much. You realize there's probably some history there. It adds some depth to the story where there otherwise wouldn't be. But what happens is Freddie kidnaps Eric and all the rest of the guy and Mai Li. And then during the final fight, he's like, yeah, you're gonna get beat up this whole time. Otherwise, we're gonna kill your girl and your brother. And so he has to sit there and take a beating and stay standing. So that's his first challenge now, is just not to get knocked out. And Tong Po is just playing with him, cutting him up and whatever. But again, his friend, former Vietnam vet, goes, runs a rescue mission, gets them out of there. with a little bit of action they throw in, brings them back to the fight. Van Damme knows now he can use his true power level. And that's when you get that big catharsis. The music kicks in, the set piece kicks are in there. Van Damme kind of starts his whole spinning split kick thing that he's kind of been known for. And it's just awesome. So we had a brief period in the 80s and the 90s where we didn't know how good we had it. Like, we had some of the most iconic action films ever made, and Kickboxer was like right at the start of all of it. It was one of the best, even if most people don't talk about it enough other than the memes. Like, we didn't know it at the time, but Kickboxer was the kind of film that would set the standard for the action genre going forward. It has so many ripoffs, so many people that need to pay homage to this. Some were good, some were bad, but they all were in the shadow. I don't know, man. I just loved it. And there's no way you can't. Just watch it on its own terms. And I'm not talking about in that ironic bad movie thing that people do now where they laugh at cheesy moments or over-the-top fights, or I mean genuinely loving it. Embracing the epic training montage, feeling the vibes off of it, the raw emotion, the street-level justice, delivering with those punishing kicks. It's a movie that knows exactly what it is, and it doesn't need to apologize for it. It doesn't need to wink at you for it. It doesn't need to add jokes because you're allowed to just have a sincere moment. Have some sincere resonance over a guy crying because his brother just got caught in a wheelchair and he doesn't know what to do about it. And so there's martial art films that create iconic heroes. In a world of big budget blockbusters, Kickboxer gave us a straightforward, powerful story about a man going to the extremes for his brother's revenge and learning to be a better man from it. There's no flashy CGI, there's no overcomplicated plots. It's about blood, sweat, and vengeance and humility. It's the kind of movie that gives you everything you need. A hero you want to see win with every punch he throws, and above it all, it treats you like you're in on the action, and it doesn't waste your time. So enjoy it, because I damn well did. Cheers, fellas.